Donald Trump is having a terrible Wednesday morning. The entire world is focused on his decrepit, weak, sickly condition, physically and mentally. In Germany, Der Spiegel writing about Donald Trump falling asleep during that disastrous cabinet meeting yesterday. Donald Trump continues to physically and mentally deteriorate before our eyes. Other bad news from Donald Trump came in the form of horrific private sector job numbers. I want to get into that in a minute. This ADP report was brutal for the Trump regime and brutal for the United States. First, I just want to remind you, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. We're on our way to 6 million subscribers, as you saw earlier this week when Donald Trump was posting about us and state regime media, which calls itself Fox, was attacking us. We are under attack from Trump and Fox and the MAGA Republicans. We're leading all independent media, and we're trying to hit 6 million subscribers this month. You may think you're subscribed to this YouTube channel because the algorithm is feeding you these videos, but you may not actually be subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the subscribe button right now. It would mean a lot to me. Let's get into this disastrous ADP private job data. Private employers in the U.S. lost 32,000 jobs in November. Now, the expectations that Wall Street has was that 40,000 jobs were going to be created in November, which would still be a pretty weak readout on job creation. But in fact, the number was a 32,000 job loss. The drop was led by a pullback among small businesses getting absolutely gutted. And that's consistent with the consumer expectation, consumer sentiment, and job outlook reports that we've been sharing with you over the past few weeks and months. Among other industries that fared the worst in November were professional and business services, manufacturing, and firms that provide information services. Most industries were doing layoffs. The only one still somewhat hiring industry-wise, hospitality and healthcare, and these are industries under attack from the Trump regime. Now, one of the main reasons that we see for these job losses, it's these tariffs against the world, which are absolutely disastrous, and it's the uncertainty surrounding the tariffs where businesses don't know what to prepare for. Businesses and people require certainty and stability, and as we started this video where you see Donald Trump, this ranting and raving lunatic who falls asleep and then wakes up and posts, "I'm angry at this country, I'm going to impose tariffs." That's not the way businesses are able to function. But let's check in with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and ask him about these reports. So Howard Lutnick was asked on CNBC, can you explain to us why small businesses are hurting so much right now? Howard Lutnick goes, "Remember, as you deport people, that's going to suppress private job numbers." So are you admitting that Donald Trump's mass deportation, terrorizing migrant communities is harming the economy? That's an interesting admission. Here, play this clip.
The Democratic shutdown hurt the numbers. And then remember, as you deport people, that's going to suppress private job numbers of small businesses. But they'll rebalance and they'll regrow. So I think this is just a near-term event. And you'll see as the numbers come through over the next couple of months, you'll see that all pass. And next year, the numbers are going to be fantastic.
But then I guess Howard Lutnick then goes to himself, well, actually, it's the Democratic shutdown that did this. Let's blame the Democrats for it. It has nothing to do with tariffs. Let's play this clip of Lutnick.
These trade negotiations and deals. I do want to ask you about the recent economic data, because today we learned that the private sector is losing jobs. Small business getting hit really hard. Negative number in front of ADP. And one of the reasons that they cite is tariffs. So do you worry about some of the economic fallout here as these tariffs really take hold?
No, it's not tariffs. Remember, you had the Democratic shutdown, right? And what do you think happens to small business? The people who do business with the U.S. government, they know they're not getting paid, so they sort of slow down their projects. So you saw a little bit even of construction of small business down.
Now, it was interesting to me how CNBC versus state regime media, which calls itself Fox, was reporting on these horrible job numbers today. CNBC lately actually has been looking a little bit like adjacent to state regime media with some of those hosts like Kiernan and others. But here's how they report the job losses that were far lower than what was, or far worse than what Wall Street expected. Again, Wall Street expected 40,000 jobs created. We had 32,000 private sector jobs lost. Watch how CNBC reports it. Let's play it.
Hey, Joe, a big miss on the ADP payrolls. The private payroll company saying private payroll shed 32,000 workers in November. That's the fourth negative number in the past 6 months for this series. Take a look here. The estimate was for 40,000, so the street was off on this one. And how did you get there? Well, goods producing shed 19,000 workers, service producing shedding 13,000 workers. But the big story here, and I'll show you more detail on this, is what's happening with small business, down 120,000. Medium and large business doing okay, up 51 and 39,000 respectively. But take a look at this chart here. Virtually all of the job losses have come from small business, which has been negative in 6 of 7 months since April. Without those losses, ADP numbers would actually be positive, but you can't get rid of, or you can't exclude small business. And then you look at it by sector. Well, we've seen those two sectors do it. Education, health services, leisure, hospitality leading the way, but manufacturing down, information down, and professional business services down by 26,000. Also, another sign of weakness in the job market. Job stayers, their wages up 4.4. That's down a tenth from the prior month. And job changers, that was a big number, or had been. That's down 0.4 of a point to 6.3%. So, Joe, at least according to ADP, additional weakness in the job market. And small business getting hammered, and there is some information that some of this may be coming from being hammered by the tariffs.
And now let me show you how state regime media, which calls itself Fox, reported it this morning, where they acted like this is a good thing. They're like, this is great. Wall Street's really happy about it because now we are in a better position to have rate cuts, for the interest rates to be cut. Here, let's play this clip.
They are on the move right now as we just got the November ADP numbers crossing the tape right now. An unexpected loss of jobs. Cheryl Casoni, tell us more.
We did. We got a loss of 32,000 jobs, which in a way markets may want it to have seen, because that gives you a better shot at a rate cut for December, or more of a confirmation of that. The expectation was 10,000. They also revised for October up to 47,000 from 42,000. At this point, we're still seeing about an 85% chance of a quarter rate point next week. But again, this is the private sector job market. This is 500,000 U.S. employers. This is the freshest data that the Fed's really going to get on jobs, Maria, ahead of that decision.
It's interesting, Cheryl, to see this market rally on this news, because I guess it's confirming to some investors that the Fed has.
Now, I just want you to see how state regime media, and to some extent Wall Street, think about you, right? They'd rather have their interest rate cuts for themselves so that they could borrow more and that they can engage in whatever the hell they're doing over there, while the American people are losing jobs. They were literally like celebrating it right there. And now, while all of that was going on this morning, you had Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He was speaking at CNBC with Sorkin at one of these economic conferences. And I just want you to watch here, because everything these Trump propagandists tried to do is blame Democrats and blue states, and they just come with false data. Watch here as Treasury Secretary Bessent is fact-checked to his face by Sorkin. Just a good job here. Play this clip.
In a blue state, affordability is worse than a blue state.
We can debate that, but keep going.
No, there's no debate. The number 50 basis points higher inflation, the 10 highest, inflation rates, they are in blue cities, but
Just so you know, because I went to look at this, this is the Joint Economic Committee, since 2021. The highest inflation of the past 4 years has been in red states, especially Florida.
I'm talking about current.
Current. Not over the past 4 years.
Right. Today.
Okay. I would think 4 years would be a reasonable trend line to look at.
Today it is 50 basis points higher. So anyway, and look, the people are voting with their feet. I have the American people on my side. That New York, Illinois, California, Massachusetts are depopulating.
And they're going to places in Florida, like Florida, where interest rates are I'm saying inflation's up 22% over the last 4 years.
Well, inflation is up 25% nationally, so it's lower.
I believe in New York it was 19%.
Sorry?
I believe in New York it was 19%.
I don't think that's right.
We can go through the math.
But
do you struggle with focus, productivity, or efficiency like I do? Maybe you have ADHD and are looking for tools to help you. Everyday Dose has a combination of coffee and nootropics and Lion's Made that help with focus and mood improvement. Now, as you know, we have a very busy and even hectic schedule sometimes here at MeidasTouch. We're constantly on the go, and while I love my coffee, I'm looking for something better, a simple but effective alternative that doesn't take even more time out of my day. Everyday Dose is my new coffee alternative. It tastes just like coffee, but it's enhanced with collagen, protein, nootropics, and functional mushrooms, and my gut and brain have never been happier. It takes 30 seconds to make, and I never run out of ingredients that I need. Everyday Dose has been a savior for my body. It's not only an incredible coffee, it also has collagen and functional mushrooms that get rid of any negative side effects of coffee on my stomach. If normal coffee is like a flip phone, Everyday Dose is like a smartphone. It's coffee, and yes, it tastes like coffee, but it has all three other functional benefits that get you ready for 2026. Now, Everyday Dose is coffee plus benefits. They combine high quality coffee with powerful ingredients like Lion's Made and chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long. It tastes just like coffee without the downside, no crash, no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. Get 61% off your first Coffee Plus starter kit, a free A2 probiotic creamer with over $100 in free gifts by going to everydaydose.com/Meidas or entering Meidas at checkout. That's everydaydose.com/Meidas for 61% off your first order. Everyday Dose is also available at your local Target.
And for those listening on audio, you're not going to be able to see this. You could check it out on YouTube. And again, everybody, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel right now. We need to hit 6 million subscribers. We're fact-based. We bring the receipts. We show you charts and graphs like this. Take a look at the long-term chart of ADP payrolls. What do you notice right here as you look at these charts? Don't you see that when Trump was in office, all of a sudden the ADP payrolls go from up to down? Yeah, you don't want the ADP payrolls to get into negative territory. And under Trump's regime so far, they frequently have been in negative territory. I've got other news to report. Big news this morning coming from the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee and members of Congress and in the Senate in general as it relates to the release of the Epstein files. So Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, led by Congressmember Robert Garcia, they were able to get their hands on never before seen photos and videos of Jeffrey Epstein's private island that are a harrowing look behind Epstein's closed doors. You can see for yourself what it looks like. They were like dentist chairs. The whole thing looks absolutely gross. Epstein's bed looks disgusting. And then on a bipartisan basis, you had lawmakers, senators, and members of the House of Representatives send a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi this morning demanding a status update on the release of the Epstein files. The files are set to be released on December 19th. Right now, it's December 3rd as I'm recording this video, so still about 16 days away. But what these lawmakers want to make sure is that December 19th doesn't hit, and then all of a sudden, Pam Bondi's like, oh, well, I need an extension, or I'm making all of these objections, and I'm not turning it over. So the lawmakers wrote this letter saying, tell us now what the hell you're going to be turning over, because we want to make sure all the files are going to be released. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. And as our extensive coverage on the Epstein file release, we've been focused on this every single day for the past, 4 or 5 years pretty much at this point. All right, now, turning to what other MAGA Republican senators and Congress members are doing. So earlier this morning, you had Senator Roger Marshall, a MAGA Republican senator, go on MS Now, and he was asked by the host, so you just outline all the dangers posed by drugs. So can you explain to us why Donald Trump just pardoned the biggest drug trafficking narco terrorist, or at least one of them, that have been locked up in our federal prisons in the United States for 45 years? The former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who in the federal trial, we learned he said, get those drugs up the gringo's nose. I want to kill those Americans with my drugs, basically. So why do we pardon that guy who worked with El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel, who killed thousands and tens of thousands of Americans? Why Trump pardon that guy? Here, play this clip.
But more so, you just, rightly outlined the dangers posed by drugs. So what expectation do you have for President Trump offering a pardon to the former president of Honduras, who prosecutors said ran a massive drug cartel, including sending tons and tons of it to the United States?
Yeah, I don't know the details of that particular pardon. Happy to look into it, but I just can't really speak to it.
All right, Republican.
Okay. All right. So, no thought on the fact that he was pardoned?
Well, again, I think it's unfair to, without me researching the details of that pardon, to give you any type of an answer. I'm a doctor. If you ask me a question, I don't have a good answer or a factual answer, I'm going to say I don't know. I'm happy to go research it. I'm really locked in on healthcare right now, trying to bring down the cost of healthcare for Americans and make our lives more affordable.
Republican Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, thank you very much, Doctor, for coming in this morning. We appreciate your insights. All right.
Can you just look right here? I just framed Senator Marshall, this MAGA Republican right here. Aren't these just the most phony people in the world? I just looked at him like, these just phony people who lie and who don't give a crap about anything while the people suffer. Speaking of that, you then have MAGA Republican Congressmember Roger Williams making his rounds on the morning shows, talking about why senators and Congress members should be engaged in stock trading and insider trading. The MAGA Republicans, let's do inside stock trading in Congress. Listen to him in his own words. Play this clip.
Take a look at it, because right now, from a financial standpoint, it's not easy being up in Congress. And I think that we can't limit the ability for people to do business and operate their lives. So I want to take a look at that, but I want to be careful we don't squeeze it too hard to where nobody even wants to come up here.
And then, of course, Donald Trump and MAGA needs a new scapegoat. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? They realize, well, we're heading into an election where we're going to need the Latino vote. So maybe we should pull back our attacks on the Latino community, because we're seeing some of these election results and Latinos have turned against Donald Trump. He only has 30%, 25% support amongst the Latino community right now. So who should we go after? Somalians, the Somalis of Minnesota, a perfect target for Donald Trump, right? So now all in MAGA and Trump attacking the Somalis. Everything's wrong. The crime, it's the Somalis. They're the ones eating your cats and dogs. It's the Somalians. So here you have one of the Department of Homeland Security spokespeople, McLaughlin. Here's what she says when she's asked, so how many of the 40,000 people born in Somalia do you believe are pieces of garbage? Because Trump said they're all pieces of garbage. How horrific and racist is that? And she doesn't even deny that she thinks they're pieces of garbage. Listen to what she says. Play this clip.
The president yesterday spoke extensively about his feelings about security and immigration and asylum in different parts of the country. He said he does not want people from Somalia here. He called them garbage. The Wall Street Journal estimates there are some 40,000 people from Somalia, born in Somalia, living in Minnesota right now. How many of them, how many of the 40,000 people born in Somalia living in Minnesota do you consider to be garbage?
John, we're really looking at the data, the analysis here, particularly out of Minneapolis and other parts of the country where we're seeing Somalia. There's widespread fraud, particularly marriage fraud when it comes to immigration. We're looking at criminality here. Homeland Security has very reliable data here and analysis that we can go after these individuals and make sure that they're not a public charge on our communities, and they're also not a public threat to the American people.
And then MAGA Republican Congressman Tom Emmer perpetuates these racist lies on Fox, and he says 80% of crimes being committed in Minnesota are done by Somalis. It's not true. Play this clip.
Group. But you know what we're not talking about today? Do you realize that, it's not that all Somalis are committing crimes, but 80% of the crimes being committed in the Twin Cities in Minnesota are being committed by Somalis. And
then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this morning that Donald Trump announced that he was pardoning a Democratic Congress member named Democratic Congressman Cuellar from Texas. Now, this was an individual who was criminally prosecuted under the Biden administration because there was allegations that he accepted and his wife accepted a $600,000 bribe from the Azerbaijani government, as well as an energy company in Mexico City, that the money was routed through his wife, basically. These were the allegations from the DOJ, because under the Biden administration, whether you were a Democrat or a Republican, if they found wrongdoing, they prosecuted you. So Donald Trump said that he's pardoning this Democratic Congressman Cuellar, who's still in Congress right now, and he was allowed to stay in Congress pending the criminal trial, which had never taken place to date. And I think two things are going on here. One, I think Donald Trump wants to try to make this Congress member Cuellar a Republican. We'll see what happens there if there was a deal struck there. So stay tuned there. But also Donald Trump wants to normalize bribery. And anybody who's accused of bribery, he wants to allow his MAGA Republicans to know, and just everybody in his orbit, that the American government is open to bribery. And so he is pardoned. And all you have to do, if you want to get out of your bribery charges, is pay tribute to Donald Trump. So to me, that's what that pardon is about right there. So we'll keep you posted every step of the way. That's what happens this morning. Remember to subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers, and we appreciate you.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.